Sure thing. And I'll start us off here. But hi everyone, my name is Mackenzie Adriance, and I work in the Center for Career and Professional Development. And I'm co-presenting here today with our career advocates and with our community engagement board. Ellen, if you want to wave and say hello, our
Yes,
president.
hello everyone. I'm from the Community Engagement Board. My name is Ellen, and I'm here with Seb and Mani, as well as I think Sam is also here.
Perfect. Awesome. So today, yeah, we're going to talk about resumes and if you have volunteer experience, how to include that experience on your resume to make it relevant to maybe more art and design related positions, as well as if you're interested in becoming more involved and seeking out volunteer opportunities, how to go about doing it, and just the impact that volunteer work can make on you as a person, on you as a student or an alumni or a leader. And yes, yeah, so we're going to get into that today. Um, I know we talked through some of our introductions already, but Avishii and Makara, if y'all wouldn't mind to wave, my career advocate,
Hello.
we'll also be doing a great deal of the sharing today about resumes and who they are and how they serve the Pratt community. So yeah, and so we'll kick it off with learning outcomes, just what we hope you all get out of today, which is identifying the value of volunteering and how to articulate that and communicate that on your resume, and then envisioning, based on what we talk about today, what your own resume might look like moving forward. And then our CBoard student leaders today are going to talk about their experience, what volunteering has, how it's impacted them. So you all take it away.
All right, thank you. So I guess I'll start. We're CBoard and stands for Community Engagement Board, and we plan like all the campus, on-campus, off-campus volunteering events. And so I think like participating in these events is a great way to learn about social issues such as homelessness, poverty, climate change. And at the same time, you'll be able to like contribute your power to like help your local or like global communities. And I think like volunteering also provides like opportunity to bridge the real world with your personal work. For example, like for me, I was able to use my experience working at food pantries and soup kitchens as like a basis for one of my junior studio projects where I identified some challenges that people faced and I tried to redesign the whole food experience.
So I would like to talk about how volunteer opportunities give you a way to connect with others and build so many leadership qualities. Coming to the connecting with others is networking is really important in the field of any, like if you want to get an internship or if you want to get any job, connecting is very important. And that begins when you come into college and you start interacting with others, because campus involvement gives you a way to know about other people's experience. And once you volunteer, start to volunteer, you get to know a lot of people from other organizations like Program Board, CCPD, Learning Access Center. And besides that, you get to collaborate with off campus people as well, like NYC Surveys and Myrtle Avenue. You get to know those people and their experiences. And this helps in building a network, which will somehow help you in the future for sure. Because once you get out of college, you would need someone to go to know about the experience, to have some advice and what challenges they might have faced that you would like to know about. Also, it is very important to think who you are besides your major. You work towards your major. For me, I'm an interior designer, but who am I besides my work, besides my portfolio? That's what the interviewers sometimes want to know. So if you like to do social volunteer opportunities, it builds up your empathy quality. It builds up so many other leadership qualities as well. And for me personally, being in CBoard has developed me so much into strategically thinking about how to organize events, how to face the challenges over the pandemic, and how to work with the team, how to decide over collaborations and send out the communications through formal language. So it's really important to connect and learn these leadership qualities, which somehow your major will always help you in your portfolio, but your personality will only build up once you start to get involved in the campus and other opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much here to talk about like my personal experience with community service, where for me personally, I feel like working with community service, you are ultimately working with a team for a much larger cause, making lives better for other people, or simply just putting a smile on their face. And I feel like that transitions into really well into the workforce, especially since as artists and designers, we're constantly collaborating with people and elaborating on people's ideas. And we're just trying to bring the best idea or product forward pretty much. And then also, not only that, in terms of teamwork, you also develop communication skills that are a lot better, where you become much more clear and concise with your word choice. That definitely happened with me in CBoard, where definitely talking to more people, and even in this pandemic, talking to more people and interacting with them and just brainstorming ideas helped me with my communication skills, whether it be public speaking, one-on-one, or important conferences and interviews. So community service transitions perfectly into the job force and the resume, building a resume.
Amazing. Thank you all. And if I know there are other members of CBoard here too, so if you have any input or any perspectives on this, please feel free to share throughout, and open to questions throughout as well. I know our CAs are open to questions as well. Thank you all so much. So to transition a little bit into maybe more of the concrete techniques of how to translate those experiences into onto a resume. That's what myself and my career advocates are going to talk about. So Avishii, if you want to take us away and tell us about the CAs, we'd love that.
Sure. Hi, my name is Avishii. I'm one of the career advocates with the CCPD. And we're basically student representatives of the CCPD, and we cater to student needs, student organizations on campus. And one of the main aspects of our jobs is handling drop-in hours for resumes and cover letter reviews, which for this semester are listed over here on the slide on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And how that works is basically at any time, if you feel like you need to drop in for like a resume review, or you want someone to look at your cover letter, you can drop in during these hours. You can email or message us on Google Hangouts at the email address listed over here, and then we can chat with you. We can do a video call on Zoom or Google Hangouts, and that's pretty much how we're handling drop-ins for this semester, because everything is virtual. And we also do email feedback. So if you don't have the opportunity to show up for a video call, you can email us your cover letters or your resumes, and we'll email you back with feedback. So yeah, that's how that works. And then some technical aspects of building a resume. So one of the most important things about a resume is the fact that it's always evolving. Just because as we're working in our professional lives, we're constantly gaining new experiences. And one of the most important aspects is to keep updating your resume with those new experiences. So there's no one perfect way to do a resume. If you look at templates and examples for resumes online, or at the CCPD, there's a lot of different formats that you can adapt all of your content to. And that's why everyone's resumes will look different. But the one most important thing is that it's something that you are constantly changing and constantly updating as you gain new experiences and skills. So some of the must-haves for a resume, just some of the basic technical things that are always good to. The first one is that we always recommend to keep resumes at a page in length, just because it's easier for the employers to go through all of your content if it's organized well on one page and short and to the point. And if you do happen to go over a page, it's always good to have it be like 2 full pages and not 1.5. That's just like a small technical thing to keep in mind. And then your headers for the resume should always have your name and all of your contact information, which is really important, that it's your updated contact information, because a lot of times people will look at your resume to contact you. So things like email address or phone numbers, they should always be accessible. And then the other thing that's really important when listing all of your experiences and activities that you've participated in on your resumes is the reverse chronological order. So whatever your most recent experiences, be it an internship or a project, you would want to put it on the top in your category in the resume. So that's another important thing to just keep in mind. And then the other thing is to try and have all of your information going in one direction. And this can be done in different ways, just because there are so many different formats and designs that people choose to do. But I think it's always important to have some kind of consistency in the way that your information is flowing, just so that there's continuity for the person who's reading it. And it's just easy to navigate, and all of your information is direct and to the point. So getting started with a resume can sometimes be a little intimidating, especially I know it was for me when I started. I didn't know what to list on a resume. I didn't know if I had enough experiences. But the one thing that's really helpful is to just start by making a really messy list of everything that you can think of. And these could be things that you've done back in high school. You might think of them as insignificant, but it's just there's always things that you will find useful to include for the future. So just making a list of all of the things that you've participated in, any achievements that you've had, your work experiences, your skills, and that's how you can keep adding to the list in the future. And then you can pick things out sometimes based on a specific job that you're applying to, or just based off of what you think is most relevant at that point in time. And then another important thing is just focus on hard skills or your technical skills over soft skills. So while soft skills like communication, leadership, responsibility are also really important to include, and you can demonstrate them through your cover letter or through the things that you list under your experiences. It's always important to also include all of your technical skills. So this could be in any realm based on whatever profession you're in. But if it's like something like design, you want to list all of your like Adobe software that you're good at, and things like that. So these are some of the example sections that are like the must-haves for any resume. And this is how you categorize your resume. So you can divide all of the different things that you had in your messy list and just organize them in a way that communicates all of the skills that you've gained from your work experiences or internships, volunteer experiences. And then you can have a section for skills where you can divide technical skills and soft skills if you'd like to do that. And any kind of campus involvement that you've had in college, or even things from high school that you think might be really relevant to your major. And then it's always nice to have a section with awards and achievements separately if you feel like you have some significant achievements that you'd want the employer to know of, especially if they're relevant to like a job that you're applying to. And then you can also have a languages section to communicate what languages you're proficient in. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are just some of the examples of what sections might be, like Avishee said, and thanks, Avishee. There are so many other opportunities. You could have, an internship experience section. You may not have had a job quite yet, and again, that's why we're talking about volunteer and leadership. Like you can call these sections, and they might be in different orders. That's one of the things that our CAs or the CCPD can talk with you about, like what best fits. And so why volunteer experience? I know some of today we're talking about how to apply experiences that you may have had, but what's the purpose of showing or listing some of that volunteer experience on your resume. And I thought it was important to talk through some of these things because, as art and design majors and current or future professionals, you have to make some tough decisions about what adds value to your resume and what fits, especially if you're going for a strong one-page format. And so I think one of the reasons, and our employers think one of the reasons why you should list volunteer experiences because it shows dedication to something. It shows an interest outside of your professional field of interest, or it could be within your professional field of interest. But I mean, even when it comes down to interviewing, it could add a different kind of turn to the conversation. So I think that that's one reason why volunteer work is important on there. I think the other really awesome reason is because of the transferable skills that these leadership and volunteer community-based experiences show. So the CAs in our office do a lot of communicating. They do a lot of organizing. They've done events in the past. They do peer mentoring, basically peer career counseling. And so all of those could be transferable skills going into communication design, which is both of their majors. Our community board does amazing things with teamwork, problem solving, event management. Vani talked about adapting to COVID and making their events COVID friendly. Like if I were an employer hearing about a student leader taking that type of initiative, I could see how that would translate into whatever career or in Bonnie's case, into interior design, industrial design, interior design. Yeah. And so these are just a few examples on the screen of what some of those transferable skills might be. Transferable, if you haven't heard that term before, is just being able to transfer one skill from one experience into another. So from your volunteer work into your professional career. And employers realize that volunteering isn't easy. Especially our community board has had a lot of challenges thrown their way this past year. And so being able to adapt and shift and evolve, I think is just a really great skill set. And think about with any job application, whether it's relating back to art and design, or whatever it is you might be pursuing, or if it's an on-campus job or maybe a part-time job, think about what's important to the employer, to the person that's hiring you, to your eventual supervisor. And make sure that's one of the transferable skills or values that you're communicating in your resume. And we'll talk over some examples of what that might look like as well. But just always keeping that in the back of your mind. Let's say if you are applying to, let's say a graphic design position, just randomly, and one of the components of the position is to talk with clients, demonstrating that you've set up volunteer related events by talking to community partners shows that transferable skill. So it's really easy to relate it back to art and design as well. And it also demonstrates interest in a cause. Again, when you go in for an interview, you may have something in common with that person that you can talk about. And for our people who might be watching this that are making career changes or making changes in what they want to do, it can also serve as experience for maybe different shifts in your career eventually as well. I think the personal growth and self-awareness aspect of volunteer work that you heard some of our CBoard leaders talk about is absolutely important. So it just shows that you have a different dimension to who you are and a different piece of, like it says, if you're a person of substance, you have some things you can talk about in the way that you contribute to our world, which is nice. And so I included a couple of different examples in here that demonstrate what your experience section or leadership or volunteer section might look like. And so this one is a student volunteer at Brooklyn Children's Hospital. And so you can see I put the title of the volunteer title I put the place where the person was volunteering, the location, and the dates. So this is an ongoing experience in this example, so we keep it in present tense. So one of the bullet points says, ensure safety and provide ongoing supervision for activities, games, sports, and learning opportunities for children ages 0 to 12. And what I think this does a good job of demonstrating are some specifics. So we know that this person is obviously working for a children's hospital, volunteering for a children's hospital. They include ages in there. That's a really big range of, safety supervision. That's, newborns to middle schoolers. So I think it shows a really wide range of safety and responsibility. And then the second one, organize and coordinate drop-off, transportation, and lunch distribution to more than 30 children. Anytime we include the quantitative information in there, it just provides a better picture for the employer, whoever's reading your resume, to be able to see, wow, like 30 children, that's a lot to juggle. And the use of those strong verbs to start off these bullet points is much more effective as compared with paragraphs of information on your resume. We want to keep it, as Avishai said, much more concise and straightforward and short descriptions on the resume versus the cover letter, which if you want to talk about cover letters, we can talk about that another day as well. We can definitely help with that. Okay, so here's another example here. This person was a volunteer for the Brooklyn Sports Council, which I just made up, but maybe it could exist. And so this person worked with large scale events. So this person recruited, and this was a past experience, so we list past tense verbs, keep that really consistent. Recruited over 1,000 volunteers for marathon events. They planned and helped execute large scale events, and they give just brief examples of what those events might be. And then created pamphlets and served on awards committee for first annual Celebration of Champs. So I see even a way that this one could be adapted. Again, we were using graphic design or communication design as an example. If this person wanted to go into a more of a graphic design field, I think they could even adjust this description and talk about the programs that they use to create pamphlets, or if they had other design related responsibilities, maybe that's what we spend time talking about. Maybe we add another bullet point to this. So it's, as Avishai said, these are evolving. This is a living document, so it constantly changes depending on the types of experiences that you're getting. So can constantly change here. And then this is a much larger volunteer type of experience. So this was someone who's a part of AmeriCorps volunteer. They volunteered with the American Red Cross. And so they coordinated volunteer efforts. They trained and educated volunteers. They identified sites for potential shelters. And I would actually adjust this a little bit. Typically we want to avoid the personal pronouns. So I actually took this from a real example. And so I'd suggest to this person to omit the I, and then maybe make that another bullet point that says developed site agreement and trained shelter staff. And yeah, so maybe a little bit of adjusting there. But you can see, again, there's a lot of consistency with these types of descriptions, the strong verbs, the consistent verb tense, and just being able to, like, in a concise way, paint a picture of what were some of the responsibilities. Any questions or comments, things that you all notice on here? No pressure. No. Okay, we'll keep on going. And so Makara is going to come up next with just some examples of what different resumes might look like, and the different components, revisiting some of those components that we've talked about. And again, if you all have questions or comments, please feel free to write in the chat or to speak up.
Yeah, so for us having art and design jobs, kind of the first place where they can see those skills is on our resume. So art and design resumes don't always have to look so standardized, straightforward. You see this one, it introduces color, uses lots of different sizes and text and different styles to create this resume that also reflects their own design skills and how they craft that. So these are also two other examples of art and design jobs. Yeah. These are a little bit more standardized in their layout and how they format it, which is perfectly fine as well. I know a lot of fashion majors, they like to add glitter and stickers to it. Some people like to do a more standardized one. Some people like to have a very gridded InDesign laid out resume. But definitely make it a reflection of you and a reflection of your work, because I've heard from multiple hiring managers that they really do look at the resume as the first point of your portfolio, really, to reflect your own design skills.
Yeah, and one of my favorite examples on the resume that's on the right side of the screen is that they actually list side projects. And that's a component of several of the different resumes in our resume guide, which I'll put a link in the chat in a minute. And I just think it goes to show what we were saying before. Like, these sections are not all cookie cutter. They don't have to be in the same order. As we see up here, the resume on the left has experience before education. Maybe their experience is a little bit more related to what they want to do. Maybe they are applying for a photography position. Whereas on the right-hand side, they have education first. I think on both we see that the contact information's at the top as well, but definitely, as Makara is saying, just very different types of resumes.
Yeah, and you see they break down also like design skills versus tools. And then on the left, you see skills and tools. So it can be classified whatever way you see fit. Going back to what Avishu said, hard skills versus soft skills. So using like skills like communication, putting those more in your descriptions, but how you want to show off your skills and your tools that you use and your languages is up to you. So when writing your descriptions underneath either side projects or experience, volunteer experience, you want to make them I sentences without saying I. So it'd be actually starting with those action verbs, such as developed, prepared, operated, contributed, handled, conceptualized. There's many, many action verbs. Our resume guide has probably at least over 100 listed. And then match the tense of it. So if it's a present job, it'd be develop. And then if it's a past tense job, developed, when you're writing those descriptions. So for final considerations when making your resume, you want to make sure everything on the page adds value to who you are and getting the job. Everything needs to be necessary. You only get one page for your resume most of the time to show off who you are. So you want to make sure all the real estate on there is adding value. So for past experiences, especially like high school, you can ask yourself, does this add value? Yes, I go to Pratt. It's implied then that I went to high school, that I did well in high school. So do they need to know that I went to high school? Is everything on this page relevant? Are things repetitive? Can I show off new things about myself that aren't being showed currently by having repetitive nature?
Yeah, and if we relate this back to volunteer experiences, I think that well, I definitely get this question a lot. I volunteered for a one-off event or a one-day event. Should I list that on my resume? Should I not? And I think these are, as Makara was saying, some of the questions that we ask. Does it add value? Does it relate to what you want to do? Does it add value in some of the other types of ways that we were talking about, in terms of showing that you dedicate your time to other things in our world? Do you have the space for it? Just logistically, is it going to fit? and maybe if this is a really important experience to you, as we're talking about volunteer work today, maybe we need to see, again, if you have high school listed, maybe that's not adding value at this point. Maybe we can focus in on your undergraduate experience and make more space for things like volunteer work, internships, experiential learning, any of that. So.
And whatever you remove from your resume doesn't mean you can't talk about it in your cover letter or your interview as well. It just means that you're not highlighting it on your resume. And that's all it means. But you can talk about it in the other capacity as much as you wish.
Really good point. Thanks, Vikara. Okay, and to kind of bring us home here today, I think, Eleanor, are you going to talk about the different opportunities for where to find service experiences? I think.
Oh, yes.
Perfect.
These are some just like I took screenshots of the Pratt Engage, and this is the CBoard page. And you will find a lot of events. Like if you scroll down on the actual page, you will see all the ongoing and then like the past or like future events that we're having. And on here, you will see also 2 links. One's called like virtual volunteering resources, especially this is for like right now, we're all at home at different parts of the world. So the right side photo, you will see some links, especially volunteer match, NYC service. There's a few really good events on Eventbrite as well, volunteering right now, and I have New York Cares. So these are like the websites that we usually go in to find like service Saturdays, long-term, short-term events, like reading partners, or like the other ones like current opportunities such as like the Indian program. I think they're now providing like nonprofit free like speaking practice for like English learners. So we'll be keep updating this list. So if you are looking for any like opportunities, feel free to click on here to see if there's any current opportunities or like future ones, and or like just browse through these websites to find the ones that interest you.
Yeah, and so we hope that, our conversation today has not only inspired you in a way to get involved and to seek out these service opportunities and these leadership opportunities. Our CBoard does a lot of work to make these types of events and opportunities available, but also that I know that they're open to suggestions and to ideas, because I've worked with them and they're great. So if you all in your lives are doing things in the community or for the world, let us know and let the CBoard know so they can include those types of opportunities. We also hope that by talking through, the value of service and then how to communicate that on a resume, we hope that you've started to think about different ways that you can communicate your individual experiences on your resume. And as you have questions, feel free to reach out to our career advocates, reach out to the Center for Career and Professional Development, the CCPD. We'd love to help you. We know that resumes are really individual and everyone here's looks completely different. So yeah, we'd love to have that conversation with you. But yeah, we hope if you have any questions, you'll feel free to reach out. But if anyone has any questions right now, we'd love to answer those too. Make space for that. Oh, we have someone joining us.
Well, yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
An example, I have my resume, but is necessary to put the hard skills and the soft skills, typing the title for divide? Because before, maybe 5 years ago or something, you use only the skills.
Yeah. And of course, everyone's is different. I think for a skills or a qualifications section, kind of like our CAs have talked about a little bit today, I think the harder skills, the program related skills, the technical skills, the more hands-on related skills, the language skills, I think those fit a lot better in a skills section. as compared with bullet points saying something like communication or customer service or kind of these general soft skills. One of the kind of like sayings in our office is to show rather than tell. And so I think that you can show or demonstrate skills like communication or customer service in your experiences. So if you've had jobs before, if you've had leadership experiences, if you haven't had either of those things, you've definitely, in this group taken classes. And if you could demonstrate, I did a research project or I had to collaborate on a group project, like you can still include those types of soft skills by demonstrating. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, perfect. Yes. Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well. I was studying at Pratt for the graduate. Not finish other circumstance, but now I lost my job. It's gonna start the pandemic. Because I now to try to renew my resume.
Yeah.
This is great for me.
Oh, good.
And I'm the first in the list to give an appointment.
Oh, good. And we actually have, if I can scooch back to one of our very early screens here. I don't know why I did it this way, but we make decisions. We have our drop-in hours as well. And so those are going on even after we finish today. My friend Makara is going to be doing that. So if you want any feedback on your resume, we have these hours this week too. And then again, you can always make an appointment with the CCPD as well. But thanks for your question. Thanks. What else comes to mind?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Like action words that we use on the resume.
Yeah.
So do you think like there are some action words that the people would think it's overused or like it's too common of skill?
That's a really good question. When it comes to action words, I don't think that there are any that come to mind as being overused. What I typically pay attention to on each individual person's resume is that we're differentiating it. And so we're not saying like collaborated like every single bullet point, or maybe for our students it might be like designed. I try to, that's why I think Makara mentioned our resume guide, which I still need to put the link in for if one of the CAs wouldn't mind to put the link in the chat. I think it's really helpful to see different types of strong verbs. And so I'll bring that up here in a second. But no, I don't think, the only words that I think are overused on a resume are things like the soft skills I was just talking about. So one of my biggest pet peeves is customer service. I don't know why, because I think we can describe it in a different way, in a stronger way. We can talk about collaborating and communicating. But not when it comes to strong verbs. No, I don't think so. Makara, Vichy, can you all think of any come to mind?
I think like what you said, just differentiate, like using different ones is definitely a big one. I think it just depends on the person, but yeah, I just wouldn't be repetitive with your same action verbs. And I just put the resume guide in the chat as well.
Thank you. Oh, great. And so we have another question. So if there's something that doesn't add value to my resume, should I exclude it even though I won't be able to fit the whole page? So if there's something that doesn't add value to my resume, should I exclude it even though I won't be able to fill the whole page? Do you mean include it maybe? Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
I was trying to say, for example, if there's like an experience I have that doesn't relate to the design field, for example, should I like exclude it even though like my resume won't have the whole page?
Oh, I understand. Yeah. Well, two different things with that, two different responses I have with that. So first of all, I know we talked a lot about transferable skills a lot in this presentation. I get the question a lot because I work with art and design students. I worked at Starbucks at home. If Makara can speak to this, I worked at Starbucks for 2 years, doesn't really relate to what I want to do. I think I'm going to leave it off. But then we have the conversation about, was Starbucks your longest experience? Did you communicate with customers? Do you have any other work experience? If those answers are no, then I would include it, even if it doesn't feel like it relates directly because of those transferable skills. So that's my first response to this. Second, I do think you should maximize maximize the space and maximize the amount of information you list on the space, or list on the page rather. And so even if it isn't directly related, if you are not filling up a full page at this point, there are definitely conversations we can have about like what you have listed, and maybe it's just design related, but I would probably include it still, even if it's not directly related. I don't know if the CAs or CBoard members have any input on that as well.
Yeah, I think I also get that question a lot, especially when it comes to like either like filling up the page or having too much and having to fit it in. So I know it can be like difficult to make those decisions about a lot of things where it's like you're thinking, is this really important? It's unrelated to what I want to do or the job that I'm applying to. But yeah, like Mackenzie said, I think there is always opportunity for us to relate these experiences to what we're currently doing. So I think if you don't have a whole page, it's always better to just add. You can put it in the end if it's something that's something that you've done in the past, but they'll at least get to look at it, and they'll know that you've had this experience. So it's always a good addition.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I think so too. Especially like I feel like I saw like a few interviews with employers, and they always said like it's like very good to see like your passion project or even like your interest on your resume if you don't have like the other like experience that's related, because it really like shows your like I don't know, like you're continuously like putting effort into like this one thing that you really love.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
I think this question also comes up with maybe a little less leadership, but still involvement. So I work with students who are part of organizations more like recreationally. So maybe it's sports related, maybe it's game related. I had a student more recently say that he was the one of the founders of the Dungeons and Dragons Club on campus. And I thought that was really awesome. And so that could be a conversation like, it might not relate to architecture that I'm pursuing, but what does it show, or what value does it add? Is it a conversation starter? Do I have the space? Again, all those questions that we ask. Anything else come to mind? And so the final thing that I want to include on here, again, scrolling through this way, sorry, is our CCPD survey. And so it's really quick. It's only a couple of questions, but just to see what you all got out of today's presentation. And just if you have any anonymous feedback, it really helps our office, and then I can also anonymously share with the CBoard. It really helps us decide what to do with future programming, and how this was helpful or not helpful, and in what ways. So we'd really appreciate it if you could take the time to just fill out that survey right at the website listed there. But any last minute questions or comments, concerns?
Yeah, when you describe the job, example, my last job is I was a interior designer, an architect.
Yeah.
I describe the by bullets or prefer is described by paragraph.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things we suggest on a resume is that you do follow more of a bullet point structure, just because if you have both a resume and a cover letter, employers want to see that information quickly. They want to move through. I mean, at least with my experiences with interviewing others, whether it's students or full-time staff, wanting to move through, see kind of a snapshot of experiences on the resume, and then the cover letter allows you to add in the narrative in full paragraph form, and you get to make those connections between your past experiences and what you want to do. So the resume, I do suggest avoiding the paragraph format, just because it can get a little bit overwhelming for sure. I mean, we can help you. Again, we can help you translate the paragraphs into more of those concise bullet points. Um, Typically, when I work with students or alumni that have paragraphs, they have all of the elements of the bullet points there. It's just in a longer, format.
Oh, yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, because all the points when you show now, I now have these mistakes in my resume, no? With the paragraphs, I change for the bullets. For example, no, do you use the I do this one, I did this one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
it's hard because I know the first thing we said about resumes is like there's no perfect way to do a resume, and everyone's is going to look different and be in different orders. But there are just a few what I think of as kind of universal ways of presenting the resume, and that's one of those for me. Is I want to keep it more concise. I used to describe it like a resume is like a postcard, whereas the cover letter is a letter. You have a paragraph format.
Okay, and the other question,
Yeah.
how many years or jobs do you is good to typing or is good to show?
Yeah. So rule of thumb is 10 years.
Okay.
However, I think, and I have previous experience working at a community college. So I worked with a lot of, in that case, older adults who are making transitions in careers. And I think the better question is what's related to
Yeah.
what I'm going to do. So even in my own family, I've worked with family members that were making transitions in careers, and they may have included things from 15 years ago if it was still relevant. So it's not like a set in stone rule. That's kind of a practice rule. But I think those other questions we ask, what's valuable, what fits in the format, those are better questions.
That's good. Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. I'm glad. You got some good questions. Very cool. Well, thank you all so much for coming and your input and your questions and your observations, and CBoard your contributions as well. Yeah, it's been great. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, have a
Great
fantastic.
job, teams. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a fantastic rest of your day, everybody.
You too.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.